Helping to tell our story and contributing to our narration from time to time, the original voice from Wells' News on the March sequence from Kane, that of actor William Allen.
News on the March! 50 years ago on Broadway, New York, later in London, England, the opening of a movie destined to become a legend in the history of talking pictures. Legendary, too, its creator, producer, star, director. Here, age 26, George Orson Welles. The years before Kane, the making of a legend. Born Kenosha, Wisconsin, second son to Richard and Beatrice Wells, said to have excelled before the age of 7 in music and theater. By the age of 10, lecturer in fine arts, expert watercolorist, cigar smoker, a subject for study by astonished child psychologists.
Everybody told me from the moment I was able to hear that I was absolutely marvelous. I never heard a discouraging word for years, you see. I didn't know what was ahead of me.
Formative years of Orson Welles. Travels in Europe, travels in South Ireland with donkey and cart, paints for his bed and board, then to Dublin, talks his way into celebrated Gate Theatre Company.
I saw this brilliant, not necessarily an actor, but a brilliant creature of 16 telling us he was 19 and telling us he'd had lots of experience, which was obvious to us he'd had none at all, but he was more than brilliant. And Hilton said, we've got to use that boy, whether you like it or not. And I very soon did like him because I think he's a wonderful person. Awesome. A wonderful, still undisciplined creature of enormous, shall we call it, talent. I only use the word genius very, very seriously, like love.
Return to America, where his star rises rapidly. Still only 23, featured on the cover of Time magazine. Stardom in theater and radio. They call him the Marvelous Boy. Shakespeare, Shaw, Turner, Marlowe, Shakespeare again. Becomes co-director of the Mercury Players. His all-black Macbeth, the talk of Theaterland.
Really sensational, actually. It says outside it's terrific, and it really is.
First appearance of Orson Welles on film, amateur movie, Hearts of Age. Stars Welles and first wife, Virginia Nicholson. Radio days. Welles bankrolls his own stage productions. Becomes one of the highest paid radio performers in America. Uncredited, his voice is known coast to coast in the sinister role of the Shadow.
The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The Shadow knows.
I used to go by ambulance from one radio station to another because I discovered there was no law in New York that you had to be sick to travel in an ambulance. So I hired the ambulance and I would go from CBS to NBC. They'd hold an elevator for me. I'd go up to the 5th floor, go into the studio, whichever I was booked for. I'd say, what's the character? They'd say, 80-year-old Chinaman. And I'd go on and do the 80-year-old Chinaman and then rush off somewhere else.
Then notoriety. Welles buys the rights to the H.G. Wells classic, War of the Worlds. Decides to present the story of the Martian invasion like a real news broadcast. Too real.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
A bulletin is handed me. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
Results of the broadcast. Panic across America. Cars take to the hills in their thousands. CBS switchboard jammed. Police arrive at the studio. Reports of assault and even rape by Martian invaders. CBS faces million-dollar lawsuits. The morning after, Wells apparently repentant.
Do you want me to speak now? I'm sorry. Of course, we are deeply shocked and deeply regretful about the results of last night's broadcast. One doesn't believe in the radio audience much. You don't know that whether they're listening or not. You have no idea how many people are listening and what they're thinking. I had every hope that the people would be excited as they would be at a melodrama.